Welcome back to Temple Emmanuel. This week our Torah portion is Shimini, and our extra reading as we are approaching Pesach is Shabbat Parah, the Shabbat of the red heifer. Let's talk about Shimini first. Shimini, which means the eighth, refers to the eighth day of the dedication of the tabernacle in the wilderness. This Shimini, this eighth day, is directly related to the fact that Hanukkah, which also means dedication, is the celebration of the dedication, or more precisely the rededication, of the ancient temple in the days of the Greek hegemony over the Jewish people. And that's important. Part of the story of Shimini, of the dedication, is the story of Nadav and Avihu, who were Aaron's two sons, the successors to the high priesthood, and his brother, who brought some strange fire, the text says Eish Zara, before God, and to put it in very simple terms, God zaps them, and they're dead. We don't know exactly what it was that they did wrong. Some commentators say that they were drunk. Others say that they were physically exposing themselves. And others just say that, they overstepped their bounds and did something they weren't supposed to do. And the text tells us, Vayidom Aharon, that Aaron was silent in the face of the death of the two eldest of his four sons. Shabbat Parah deals with the Parah Adumah, the so-called red heifer. A heifer, for those of you who did not grow up on a farm, means a cow, a female cow that has not yet been impregnated or freshened, as the people in the agriculture world call it. Just a little something from a kid from Brooklyn telling you about agriculture and growing cows. I thought I'd throw that in. So what was the Parah Adumah? The Parah Adumah was a sacrifice that was made, and the ashes of the sacrifice, of the entire animal, were turned into a mixture of water, and they were used to sprinkle upon people who had become defiled or had become ritually ineligible because of contact with a corpse, because of contact with a dead person, in which case they were tamei. They were not allowed to make sacrifices until that period had passed. Now, these two stories are somewhat contradictory, because the story of Nadav and Avihu tells us that they did something, some mysterious something, that was completely beyond the pale, that God could not in any way accept. The story of the Parah Adumah tells us that all of the people of Israel, in fact all of humanity, is within the reach of redemption. That even at the most horrible moments of one's life, when one comes in direct contact with death, even at those moments we have a procedure and a way of bringing you back into communication, not only with God, but with the community itself. There's always a way back. There's always a way to return. And so on this Shabbat Parah, this Shabbat Shmini, we stand in awe of this contradiction. And the contradiction teaches us that it is possible to go too far. That if one disobeys God's system, if one disobeys the law, then perhaps you are beyond redemption. But as long as you are within the system, and as long as you are within the tradition, or in a civic sense within the law itself, then any mistake, any failure can be redeemed, and any failing can be overcome. And so on this Shabbat, as we begin to approach Pesach, we're very, very mindful of the fact that, number one, we have a responsibility through the Torah and our tradition to do the best we can. But most of all, to stay within the system of Jewish life and belief. Doing that provides us with an eternal route back to God's good graces. We bust with the system, we break with the system altogether, then we could wind up like Nadav and Avihu, whose names put together mean, according to the Raibal, total free will is my guiding principle. Nadav being free will, and Avihu meaning my guiding principle. So as long as we understand that there's a law that is greater than ourselves, then there's always hope. especially as we begin to prepare for our Feast of Freedom. Shabbat Shalom.